Hello, I'm Natasha Chilingarian.
And I'm Michael Ogden. This is Shared Accounts with CU Times. May I introduce you to a new month of the pod? We love puns. Anywho's, it's May, and like many of you, Natasha and I have turned the page of our far side calendars and see that the beginning of summer and SPF 50 is only weeks away. To that, I say welcome, summer, and welcome to Shared Accounts with CU Times. Coming up on the pod, we'll be talking with Brian Melter. He is Chief Experience Officer at the Brookfield, Wisconsin-based Landmark Credit Union. We're going to be talking about something that, in my opinion, is just downright evil: fraud that targets senior citizens. He'll be sharing how his credit union is helping put a stop to that nonsense and how the credit union is improving financial well-being for members overall. Heads up, we did a special rapid fire Wisconsin trivia game with Brian that he did not know about. It's at the end of this episode. Stay tuned for that. First up, let's take a break from this insane week and check in with Natasha. Hey, Ed.
Hey, Em.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
We did that trivia that people will hear later in the show with Brian. What are your thoughts on trivia? Do you play? Do you care about that kind of stuff?
I think it's really fun, and I especially love, and I believe you actually do this on a regular basis, is bar trivia. So
Mm-hmm.
having like a team, going in, having a really silly name for your team, and then
Mm-hmm.
playing.
Mm-hmm.
Really fun experience. I guess trivia, if you're just doing it online, I'm kind of neither here nor there with it.
Yeah.
But a lot of questions are really hard, and I tend to have a hard time answering unless I just happen to know that topic really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so generational too.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, if they ask something from the 2010s, I'm like, I don't know, man. Uh, I was busy
You were
paying taxes and living,
Oh, okay,
you know.
okay.
Like 70s and 80s, I can remember most of that pretty well. But
Sure, sure. No, it can be
any,
fun though, for sure, and yeah, we had a
uh,
fun time with Brian. I thought that was a great idea.
yeah, we had a good time. So, what did you watch this past week?
So, I watched this is a show I knocked out the whole thing last week on
Okay.
Netflix. Baby Reindeer is kind of a show
Oh,
that's being talked about quite a bit.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was very well done. The thing about it that I found most fascinating is that the
Hmm.
guy who plays the main character is an aspiring comedian. He's also a bartender living in
Hmm.
London, and then he has this stalker, this woman who
Ugh,
comes in once and then ends up stalking him. So it's a true story. It really happened,
yikes.
and it's played by the guy who it really happened to.
Ugh.
It's so unusual. I've never seen that before in any kind of a show or movie, kind of playing a
Yeah.
semi-fictionalized version of yourself.
Hmm.
I guess that does happen. I
Yeah.
don't know, Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm is
Oh,
like a
sure, sure.
fictionalized version of himself, but
Right.
no, the show was definitely, I can't really think of a word for it because a lot of it was very disturbing. It brings up
Hmm.
some stuff from his past that happened to him that's really, really terrible. So some of it is tough to watch.
Baby Reindeer. So Stacy Barrett, our head of sales
Yeah.
for CU Times, she told me a week or so ago that she watched it and was just disturbed by it.
Yeah, very
Hmm.
disturbing. So it's one of those, like, trigger warning, content warning types of shows.
Okay.
And just fun fact, the name of the show, Baby Reindeer, that's what the stalker calls him. She says, "You're as
Ew.
cute as a baby," which would be cute if you
Ugh.
were actually, like, in a relationship that's mutual
Out
maybe,
of
but
context, it's cute. In context, it's
no.
terrible.
Yes.
Ugh.
Anyway, so there's
Hmm.
that. Yeah, what about you? Did you watch anything fun past week?
You know what? I was so blasted tired. They
Yeah.
made me think of this, like the Lily Von Stupp character in Blazing Saddles. Madeline Kahn plays her. I don't know if you get that reference. She sings a song, "I'm Tired."
Oh, okay. Oh,
I
yeah,
was
I think
just
I have
so
seen that. Yes, yes.
great movie. I couldn't make it through anything. I kept falling asleep. I was just really tired.
Well,
But what I did, little change of pace, I do cook a lot, and this
yeah.
weekend I tried a new dish. I'll tell you really quick.
Mm,
It was so honking good.
mm,
It's really simple. Heat up some olive oil, saute some onions and garlic, throw in some
mhm,
diced tomatoes with some herbs, simmer, simmer, simmer. Throw in a good crumbling of feta cheese and
mm.
shrimp, fresh shrimp.
Ooh.
Throw it in the oven for 10 minutes and done. And fresh parsley on top. It was so good.
Ooh,
It was
yum.
so quick and so good. I loved it. So I didn't watch much, but I did cook that. So
You did cook, yes.
it was
Well, I
good.
like bringing in some other kind of outside of work hobbies into our discussions
Mhm.
as well. I know cooking is one of them.
Hey, speaking of that, what's cooking for today's episode?
We have Brian Melter with Landmark
Hmm.
Credit Union on to talk about the various ways his credit union is looking out for members, including how it's fighting fraudsters that are targeting its senior members. And I think this is a very
Ooh,
important topic.
yeah.
While fraud and scams can affect anyone, I was actually a victim of identity theft last year. And let me tell you
Hmm.
what a pain in the you know what that was to sort out.
Hmm.
I think it's especially concerning and really doesn't get any more cruel than when it targets senior citizens. And, a
I
lot of
agree.
them don't have people in their lives to kind of help them
Hmm.
identify when something is a fraud. So I think that's where the credit union can come in and help out. And Brian talks about that quite a bit. Just from my personal experience, one example, my dad, who's 85,
Hmm.
once he was targeted with a very clever email from somebody that was impersonating one of his former bosses, like, "Hey,
Ooh,
this is Rich from whatever,"
yeah.
asking for, personal information. And I
Hmm.
remember he told me about it, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds like a social engineering targeted email." So thankfully, he
Hmm.
just deleted it. But I can imagine, if you don't have someone to tell you or you aren't sure yourself, you could fall for it pretty easily.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this type of fraud?
You know what?
That's
I hate the people that pull this crap off, of course. Like you, I've been involved with I think it's 6 major hacks. And
Yes. Ugh,
most recently was the AT&T hack of 7.5 million customers. It has screwed up some of my accounts and that kind of stuff. I haven't been a victim of like this blatant targeted fraud like that. So I'm fortunate in that aspect, but getting wrapped up in hacks and all that BS is just a pain in the ass, and it's irritating as hell.
absolutely. No, you've been unlucky, I think. I remember you talking about it. Every time there's an announcement
Yeah,
about a big hack, you're like,
yeah.
"Oh, I was in part of that one."
Oh, Home Depot, Target, I mean,
Yeah,
all of it. I
yeah.
don't know how that happens.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
we'll get past it. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into our interview with Brian.
Yep.
Among other things, he breaks down the types of fraud he's been seeing targeting seniors specifically into 4 Ps. So we'll
Mhm.
learn the 4 Ps of elder fraud today. He also gives some great financial advice for all of our young listeners. We have all of that coming up next.
Hey, listeners, I want to mention our new editorial feature for subscribers only called the Executive Briefing. This monthly newsletter, available by subscription only, is comprised of exclusive editorial content and analysis of credit union data, trends, and news, information you won't get online because we don't put it online. We lock it down. It's only available to subscribers. I have said that 3 times now. Who wrote this ad copy? Me. Okay, anyway, you'll get access to this content only in your inbox to help grow your organization and better serve your members. In May, we are dissecting the latest credit card data and figuring out what credit union members want. To subscribe, go to cutimes.com/subscribe. That's cutimes.com/subscribe. It's one of the new ways we're expanding our CU Times digital world for you. The executive briefing at cutimes.com/subscribe.
Okay, fraud and financial wellness. Let's jump in. Joining us in the virtual studio today is Brian Melter, Chief Experience Officer at Landmark Credit Union, which is located outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Brian, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Brian.
Thanks so much for joining. So, to start things off here, can you just share a little bit about your professional background and how you landed in the credit union industry and into Landmark Credit Union in particular?
Sure, happy to. I started off actually in the investment industry, so came out of college with a degree in finance and started off, as luck would have it, in a mutual fund investment call center located just outside of Milwaukee. So learned the ropes of the investment side of the business and then really went through different aspects of my career with moving into the digital side of things as the internet was becoming more prevalent, moved into marketing, took a lateral move into operations to see how the sausage got made, so to speak,
Mhm.
and then really went on the flip side of things to a service provider for the investment industry where I help major investment companies with their digital marketing and customer experience aspects of their businesses. And then, really, as the opportunity with Landmark came about, I took a look at their chief experience officer and said, this actually has pretty much everything that I've done, albeit in the investment industry, but very, very similar in terms of the way that core and record keeping systems work, the aspects of customer service and the experience and the digital presence. And it just was a great opportunity for me to land in the credit union industry and with Landmark here in Milwaukee.
Brian, your title, you were just talking about the word experience. Your title of Chief
Yeah.
Experience Officer. It's one of my favorite credit union executive titles, honestly. It's so unique. In your mind, can you tell us what member experience means to you?
It is. It's a great title because as I look at the member experience, my job is to support our associates regardless of channel to provide the best member experience possible. So whether it's the marketing and advertising that we do, whether it's our in-branch experience, everything from the design of the branches to the interaction with tellers to our digital presence, mobile presence, and making things easy for folks to use and view online, while also providing kind of the right education for our members as well, and really cuts across all the different channels that members of any type would use, and really having kind of a seat over the top of those allows you to connect the dots in a very cohesive and consistent way that I think members appreciate. So regardless of channel, they're receiving the same information. There's consistency, there's ease of use. And really, my goal is to not only educate our members, but also make it easier for them to do business with us on an ongoing basis.
Well, as a follow up to that, do you feel like the role has turned even more important status over the years?
I think it has. In the past, you may have had different aspects of the experience reporting up through different business lines, and you may have had a disjointed experience. And now folks are expecting a very good experience regardless of the channel they use. They want an
Yeah.
easy website or mobile app. They want to be able to get through a phone tree without having to get
Mhm.
transferred 12 times to get the right answer for things. They want to, get in and get out of a branch if they choose to do business with us that way in a very quick and easy way. So I think that as member expectations increase, the pressure on us increases as well to keep evolving to exceed their expectations.
Great way to put it.
Right. And Brian, one of the things we wanted to talk to you about today is the fact that we're coming up on, I guess, call it a financial services holiday. National Senior Fraud Awareness Day is coming up on May 15th. So, what types of fraud schemes and scams would you say that seniors and also perhaps caregivers of seniors need to be most aware of today? I think it's an awful thing. I'll add
It
it's
is.
preying on the most vulnerable. It's terrible. What are you kind of seeing out there in terms of that type of activity?
Yeah, it is. And it's something that we spend an awful lot of time on with seniors, with members, and so on, just to try to combat an ongoing basis. And really, as we look at it, there's four different things that we see today when we look at the fraud that is going on. I call it the four P's of financial fraud. The first one is pretenders. So these are the scammers that pretend to be from organizations, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's utility company, tech company, and they're trying to gain some trust and also try to gain some personal information. So pretenders is the first P that we're seeing, and we're combating that. The second is problems and prizes, which is a double P. So it's either there's a problem on your account, there's a problem with your computer, you've won a prize for something that you need to claim, and that sort of thing. So we see letters are being sent to people that you've won a prize, but there's a collection fee involved in the prize. There's a problem with your computer. We need to download this software in order to help you with that. And then that installs malware, which then gets us into some bad things that folks are able to do and so on. The third P is pressure, meaning that the fraudsters are always putting pressure on folks so you don't think that you have time to check and validate that something is truly wrong, or check with others on the scheme that they may be asking you about. And really, they're threatening everything from, well, we could come arrest you, to, well, you're going to be fined if you don't do this, or your computer will stop working, and that sort of thing. So pressure is the third P. And then the last one is peculiar payments, another double P. And that's really a lot of these schemes rely on you to pay in ways that you wouldn't normally pay, with large sums of cash, with buying gift cards, with doing things with cryptocurrency and others. And those are all huge red flags that people need to be aware of.
Yeah. And moving on from the five or six P's, I want to ask kind of a three-part question here about technology. And
Sure.
how have the advancements in tech, including mobile banking and even AI, how have those things made fraud worse?
I would say this: the technology hasn't necessarily itself made fraud worse, but as the capabilities advance, they offer new alleys for the fraudsters to go down as other alleys have been shut down. Right. So there's new opportunities. And with the landscape that's changing, that's why it's important for credit unions and others to be really diligent about that and
Hmm.
explore new opportunities to combat fraud. And really, it comes down to fraudsters will look at any and every path to exploit, no matter what it is. And if those that remain static are the ones that are going to be taken advantage of, and technology for us is somewhat of an enabler as well, that we're able to use some technology to try to stay a step ahead of some of these versus being reactive, and do proactive steps as we see behaviors and other things that are out of the ordinary. But the fraudsters really prey on emotion, manipulation, vulnerability, and other aspects, which is outside of the technology realm. Technology may be an enabler to get some of the things that they need. But there's a lot of human emotion and other pieces involved that we're seeing as they try to build trust with those that they're trying to prey on as well.
Second part of that, you've already started touching on it. How has this allowed fraudsters to create an even more convincing scheme?
As we look at things like AI and some of the other technologies, I think those are things that, while we may use that technology to help fight fraud, fraudsters are doing it on the flip side to do things like deep fakes with voice recognition, with other pieces like that. And I think that is something that everyone needs to be eyes wide open and really take a look at. Okay, are we going beyond some of the aspects that we've used before to really protect member information? Because I think the fraudsters, as I said, as one alley gets closed, they're going to use a new one to try to find new opportunities for folks. And
Mhm.
yes, it's okay to be reactive to shut those down, but even better to be proactive and try to stay one step ahead too.
So, on the other side of that coin, how does the tech help you and your credit union and your members stay ahead of the fraud potentially?
So I think there's a lot of things that we have put in place. Obviously, some of the rudimentary things like alerting for unusual transactions, the ability to freeze your card if you suspect unusual activity or if you've lost your card. We also have various software tools, I'll say, churning through data behind the scenes, looking for things that are out of character for you. So if you've come in from your mobile device from an IP address that isn't close to where you've used it before, putting up some roadblocks there to say, all right, we're not quite sure it's you. So what can we do to stay in front of that? And that goes to the transactional realm as well. So I think in my role as the chief experience officer is to make banking easy for everyone. In some cases, I'll say some friction is needed to help prevent and protect against fraud. And then we're using some tools to help us with that as well. Unfortunately, we don't like to talk about some of those because by tipping our hand in one way, that may give
Yeah.
fraudsters a hint as to where to go or what to do. But we're using technology behind the scenes to really look at a lot of the behavioral, out of character type things that are out of the ordinary, and then proactively putting roadblocks up if that happens to kind of prevent fraud from occurring in the first place. And I would say also training our associates is huge, which isn't tech as much as it is asking the right questions, listening, watching the body language, seeing when they're coming into the branch. Are they with someone? Is that person orchestrating things? Do their answers seem very scripted? So a lot of the training goes beyond the technology realm as well, just to look at and identify unusual aspects of human behaviors.
Sure. And then, sort of adding on to that, what should a credit union's role be in fighting back against fraud that specifically is targeting seniors? And what is Landmark doing specifically to help in this area?
The first thing is obviously providing a baseline of tools out there, the ones that I just described. So that's first and foremost. Next is really ongoing education of members across multiple mediums. Not everyone may be online, not everyone may read the mail, not everyone may read email, but blanketing them with educational pieces, other aspects about the red flags of fraud, what to watch out for, what are we seeing, what things should they be aware of. And I think that the biggest thing that we're incorporating is if something does happen and you feel you were taken advantage of, don't be embarrassed by bringing that forward, because the quicker you can come to us and others to let us know what's going on, the quicker we can act and shut down accounts, put stops on cards or checks, and those sorts of things. So really, it's about not being embarrassed. It happens to everyone, and really bringing those things forward. And then I think we also look at, especially for seniors, we have pieces that we look at as they're coming into branches, as they're talking to us on the phone, really watching out to be sure that elder abuse isn't involved in those sorts of things. So we have different aspects that we're constantly reviewing and looking at to be sure we're doing the right thing. So I think with education, the training of our associates, the right tools in place, and doing it across channel is really how we're approaching areas of fraud and how to combat it with seniors.
Mhm.
Right. And I'm sure that's very important because, like, for example, my parents who are in their 70s and 80s, I've seen them be targeted with these very clever emails. But
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, they're pretty technically literate, I think, for their age. But then I've also been able to step in and say, hey, don't click that. That's a scam. But yeah, I'm sure it's important for people that maybe don't have people in their lives watching over them to tell them, hey, that's a scam. Don't do that.
Exactly.
And I'm just curious, any specific stories do you have
Oh,
that
yeah.
come to mind that where you've really helped someone avoid becoming the
You
victim?
know, I reached out to our branch team because I've heard some, and boy, I got a flood of different stories and things. And I'll say that they were numerous, and I think whether it was we have a lot of senior members who've come in with letters they've received that they ask us to inspect to say, is this legitimate? We've had fake cashier's checks that have been mailed with deposit this, then mail us back a certain thing. And by our line of questioning around and actually looking at the legitimacy of that check, we've been able to stop those. Some have been around folks making out of character large cash withdrawals where we're asking questions about the use of the money, how long you've known the person you're paying, what is it for, are you sure that's what it's for, those sorts of things, where after we've talked to them, some have walked down and said, you know what, I really need to look into this further, thank you, and that sort of thing. So I think we've seen quite a few come in across the board with some of the common scheme indicators, asking us to be kind of a trusted partner or an advisor to say, is this legitimate? Is it not? And 9 times out of 10, if they're asking the question, we kind of know the answer after reading the first sentence of what they're giving us. And then in a lot of cases, we're able to stop them from either moving money, doing that withdrawal, trying
Mhm.
to attempt to cash that check to send money to others and that sort of thing. So there have been just a litany of those examples throughout our branch network.
Oh, wow.
And I would propose, I've always thought this, it's too friendly of a term to call them fraudsters and really come up with a great profanity instead, you know?
That would be harder to put in our educational materials if we had to use the
That is
asterisk
true.
dollar sign and other things. But I like where you're going with it though. That's
Ugh,
good.
they irritate the crap out of me. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about behavior a little bit. Would you say Landmark senior members interact with the credit union differently than from younger generations? For example, visiting the branch more often. And then more on this question, how does their unique approach to banking impact Landmark's approach to ensuring personal info stays protected?
Right. I would say it's been interesting to watch this evolve over time. And for Landmark, I'll say that the stereotypes maybe have not played out as much as maybe in other industries. We have members of all ages who really may choose the branch as their primary method of interaction. And this can go down to the millennials through kind of our senior members. Others use digital mobile, others use a variety of channels. So we haven't seen a huge slant toward one channel over another. And in some cases, as we've introduced some new technology into the branches, our younger members are the ones who still want to see the in-person teller or finance officer versus using, an ITM or some of the other aspects. So that's been kind of interesting to watch. In terms of our approach to ensuring that the personal information stays protected, regardless of who the member is, we are always educating members around how to protect their information, how to protect their identity, how to set up the right alerts, how to do those things. So, really, that happens across all channels and all ages, across all members. And I think with seniors, we pay special attention to those who come into the branches as well, just to ensure that we're asking the right questions and monitoring some behaviors where they may be targeted more than some of the other age groups might be.
Great.
Right. Now, it's interesting how you say all age groups still go in the branch. When during the pandemic, it was interesting. Michael and I kind of asked the question, like, is this the end of the branch? Is everyone just going to go digital? And hasn't been the case at all. It still
Nope,
plays a very
not.
important role.
Yep, you are correct on that.
Right. All right. So let's switch gears just a little bit. This question is also related to, I guess, sort of a holiday in the financial services world, a month-long holiday. So we just came out of April, and that's known as
Mhm.
National Financial Literacy Month. So, from your perspective at Landmark, what are the biggest challenges you're currently seeing right now among your membership, all ages, in terms of achieving financial well being?
Yeah, I think the first that we see is, and this is just a basic thing, outside of the transactional realm, there's always discomfort talking about things that maybe you don't fully understand and that you don't know a lot about. And I'll put a lot of financial services products and things into that bucket. And the fear of not knowing, that in itself is something that we're looking to of how do we build trust in a very comfortable way, build a relationship with a member to have them open up. How do we educate folks on, the different products, the impacts of things like credit score on lending and insurance and other pieces, and really becoming more educated about the products that they own and other pieces that may influence their financial well-being. So really, how do you do it in a way that makes them feel comfortable, opening up about what they may not know, asking questions and that sort of thing, and providing them that information. And I think the other piece is really taking advantage of the educational content tools that we have out there. And that has everything from budgeting to goal setting to credit score monitoring and more. And I think many members are, in the mindset of out of sight, out of mind, and not taking advantage of some of the tools that are there that could really put them in a better financial position. And they can do it in a very comfortable at home or come into a branch kind of way. So we are looking at how do our associates help them get set up with those tools and awareness of those tools, whether it's through branches, our contact center, or email or digital means. And then I think the last piece that we see, and one of the biggest challenges is, I'll call it the lack of review of finances. Obviously, in the digital world, you're looking at transactions from the last few days, but for those that receive e-statements and other things, when was the last time you actually took a hard look at those PDFs to really make sure you kind of knew what was coming in, what's going out, and do those budgeting things? So you may also be missing things like recurring subscriptions that you no longer use and those sorts of things as well. So how do we highlight those so folks are going, you know what, I haven't used that subscription in 6 months. I didn't even know that was still getting billed to me. Let me discontinue that and save hundreds of dollars a year. So how do we get folks to review that? And do we have tools in place to help them as well to really monitor their financial well-being in a comfortable way?
Did you all do anything special for Financial Literacy Month?
We did. We did a lot of different things. So, a lot were around educating members. We had tips, we had information, we had campaigns around budgeting and products and kind of relevant content. We also had through social media and other channels, we had an ongoing Q&A series around what percentage of your credit score is made up by making on-time payments? Is it 10%, 25%, 40%, 85%? And in the comments people would take guesses, and we'd reveal kind of what that is and give them some more education. So we really looked at how do we get at some of these concepts in more of a fun educational way, and that really went very, very well. And then we're also looking at, and we just started a partnership with EverFi to have educational content, and I'll call it curriculum, for various members through our website and soon to be through digital banking. And then also we have educational blogs that have gotten started as well, and we highlighted some of the content in them as well for financial literacy month. So had some fun with it, but really trying to get folks to be curious and kind of learn more about various aspects of their finances.
And it sounds like these efforts are ongoing year round.
Correct. The end of April, it didn't stop. It will definitely keep going. We just had some fun with it in the spirit of Financial Literacy Month.
Nice.
Okay, and then Brian, just one final question on the financial wellness topic. If you could give your kids or another young person in your life you care about, I'm not sure, do you have kids?
I do, yeah. I have a 15-year-old daughter, so yes.
Okay, perfect. So, what are the three top money management tips you would give to her?
The first one I would say is learn and be curious. So be curious about money, saving, budgeting, and more. Learn all you can about different financial products from friends, from parents, from social media, from elsewhere, how they're used, the impacts that they have. So learning and being curious is the first. The second one is starting in the investment industry. We kind of went down this path all the time, is start early. Time is the greatest tool that all of us have for building wealth, and it's something that you can't get back. So whether it's personal savings through your maxing out your employer sponsor plan or elsewhere, the earlier you begin to save, the better off you will be as that savings continues to grow. And let time be your best friend versus getting started late. And the example we use all the time is if two people start saving $100 a month, one starts at age 25, the other starts at age 35, the first person will have nearly twice as much by age 65. Right. So those 10 years of extra savings and compounding over a lifetime really results in a huge amount over someone who may start later. So starting early is huge. And then the other one really focuses on some of the things that we just talked about, and that's protecting yourself. So, in the times we live in today, be careful on what you're sharing on social media, what you make publicly available about yourself. You need to be on guard with what you're sharing, what your family is sharing, and others, because that all becomes food for fraudsters or whatever we'd like to call them, right? To use against you at some point as well. And it also goes into things like freezing your credit reports, other things like that, to really have a very secure way around your personal finance information so you can't become another statistic of financial fraud. So those would be the three big ones there. So it's learn and be curious, start early, and protect yourself.
Great advice,
Okay.
yes.
So, Brian, now we are moving on to the goofy part of the interview,
All right.
which is all about you. And I'm calling this segment The Life of Brian.
Oh, boy.
All right. So you were born and raised in Wisconsin. Yep.
Yes, I was. Correct.
What's your hometown?
Wauwatosa, so a western suburb of Milwaukee.
Okay. And you graduated from the University of Wisconsin Madison, right?
Nope, UW Whitewater. So,
Oh,
yeah,
what?
UW Whitewater.
Okay. So my first question, as a Wisconsinite, should the Big Ten stop calling itself that and just say it's a Big 14?
Yeah, that one is always bantered around as the numbers ebb and flow. I think in my mind it will always be the Big Ten, regardless of if it's 8 or 14. So it just has a punch to it that I don't think you'll get from any other number, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. Branding.
Yep, exactly.
And Brian, when you were growing up in Wisconsin, and I'm assuming freezing cold the whole time or most of the year, what was your first ever job that you had, like an after school or
Yeah, so this will be an unusual one given the seasons that we have. So I was a lifeguard and a swim instructor. So I was indoors at our local YMCA in the winter, and then I was outdoors at an outdoor pool in the summertime, basically. So I was using the seasons to my advantage with that job, so I could move between indoor and outdoor.
wow.
And
Was this in high school?
yep, this was in high school. Once I turned 16, correct.
Very nice. All right. What was the first album you ever bought or listened to?
First album, so this was vinyl, would have been a Michael Jackson Thriller with the big fold out album
Yeah.
case, that had him laying with the sweater and the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
deal. If it's a compact disc, a CD, I'm not embarrassed to say it, but it was the Madonna True Blue CD was the first CD that I had.
Be proud.
There you go.
I love both of
Exactly.
those. Yes, definitely nothing to be ashamed
I think they're two good choices overall, so not
They
not not
are.
too
Yeah.
bad.
All right, and then we love asking all of our guests this question. What was the last movie you watched?
Okay, so this one's interesting because as I said earlier, I've got a 15-year-old daughter, and my wife and I are taking her back through the classics of things. So
Ooh.
there wasn't one, and we chose the John Hughes series of movies to kind of maybe not mandate, but have her watch. So we've gone through kind of the Vacation series, Ferris Bueller, Great Outdoors, Uncle Buck, Breakfast Club, Planes, Trains,
Yeah.
Automobiles, the whole Hughes series of movies as a classic kind of respite to get her through some of the things that we watched and enjoyed and things. So I love all of those.
I love that.
What did she think?
Some of them she loved, others you could tell she was kind of like, okay, this is parent humor, not my humor kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think we're probably at a 50-50 split of thumbs up versus thumb down from her aspect of things.
All right. Okay. So now, Brian, we're moving into a segment that we didn't give you a heads up about. This
Okay.
is Wisconsin trivia. It's a
Oh
rapid
boy.
fire round of 5 questions that we did not tell you about ahead of times.
All right.
All
All
right. I'm
right.
going to put 30 seconds on the clock. You just answer as fast as you can. All right.
Okay.
Okay. This won't be that hard, I promise, but it's funny. Okay. Brian, are you ready?
I am ready.
We begin now. On average, how much cheese does a Wisconsinite eat each year?
Oh boy. I'm going to say, I don't know, 5 pounds.
Answer no one knows. True or
Okay.
false? UW Madison was the nation's first dairy school.
True, I'll say.
Correct. What beer can you only get in Wisconsin and is illegal to sell in other states?
Spotted Cow from New Glarus Brewing Company.
Correct. Cheese curds, fresh or fried?
Both. Both.
Correct answer, fresh. How many festivals are there in Wisconsin devoted only to cheese?
How many festivals are devoted only to cheese?
Yes.
Oh boy. I'd say I'll go with a dozen.
Correct answer is I lost count, more than 13.
Okay.
You
All
did,
right.
you did pretty well.
There.
Okay.
Good.
Nice.
So I'm going to loop back really quick to the cheese in the first question. Okay. I literally could not find how much Wisconsin people eat cheese each year. According to the USDA, the average person in the US eats 40.14 pounds of cheese each year.
Okay, so wow, I was very much
A
off.
lot more
Okay.
gluttonous.
So I would assume then in the Wisconsin fold, we would be above that. So that's a lot of cheese. Yeah.
Oh, double.
And I really wonder how that compares to France with cheese because,
Oh,
True.
that's a
Very
good
true.
question.
French people, they eat a lot of cheese, but I wonder if maybe it is less because maybe Americans are just pouring cheese on everything, whereas Europeans are just
Right.
eating little morsels. I don't know. But yeah,
Hey, same here. Yeah.
Right. Agreed.
that was fun. So, final question for today, Brian. Where can people find or connect with you? So, for our audience listening today, if they want to connect with you online.
Yeah, the easiest way would be on LinkedIn. You can find me there easily. So Brian Melter, so B Melter, you'll see it on LinkedIn is probably the easiest way to connect. And happy to have a conversation or connect with anybody who wants to reach out.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, Brian Melter, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian.
And for all of our listeners, please subscribe to Shared Accounts with CU Times anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever. You know how this works. And if you'd like to rate us, we would love your feedback. And also, for those of you with questions or comments, feel free to email me over at nchillingarian@cutimes.com, or you can email Michael at mogden@cutimes.com.
Also, this month, exclusively in our executive briefing for subscribers only, we're focused on credit card data and what it shows credit unions about what their members want. You can subscribe to our executive briefing at cutimes.com/subscribe. It's a new topic each month. Check it out at cutimes.com/subscribe. Thank you so much to our producer, Zach Nyheisel. Thanks, Zach. Join us again next week for more chit chat here on Shared Accounts with CU Times. Until then, thanks for listening.